The absurdity of the politically charged lockdowns in Wales and Scotland became all too clear over the weekend. Labour's Welsh government turned the nation into something resembling a Marxist state, banning the sales of books and baby clothing in supermarkets while sending police to patrol virtually empty train carriages, checking where free citizens were journeying. It was a truly horrifying sight to behold. It sums up the madness that has enveloped our desperate leaders. And for what? Even the most pro-lockdown scientists admit such draconian measures only briefly delay the return of the virus. In fact, a Welsh minister has already admitted such a national shutdown may have to be repeated as early as January. Voters should never forgive Mark Drakeford, the Welsh First Minister, for this mess. And more to the point, you do know, don't you, that all these draconian rules do is play into the hands of the US online giant Amazon, which can still deliver to consumers all the apparently non-essential products that remain covered with plastics in supermarkets, including sanitary items and baby clothing in Tesco. Look, a Labour government is costing jobs of hard-working folk trying to find a balance between living responsibly with COVID and putting food on the table. Then, up in Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon is presenting dangerous claims to her citizens, many of whom have seemingly been brainwashed into submission. With a straight face, she told her disciples that Scotland was very close to elimination of COVID-19 over the summer. She said it was these horrific Englishmen travelling over the borders and Scots who had dared to go on holiday who had brought COVID back. Have a little listen to this ridiculous claim from Sturgeon on Saturday.
Firstly, I agree with the premise of the first part of your question. This is a virus that obviously travels across borders very easily, and I suspect over the summer we did get very close to elimination in Scotland, and then not entirely, but we've reseeded it from travel across the UK and internationally. So border control, I think, is an important consideration here. There are ongoing discussions with the UK government about border control internationally, and also more recently we've been trying to have discussions about how we coordinate our messages on travel within the UK.
How is the media allowing Sturgeon to get away with that? Scotland was nowhere near elimination. That is an impossible aim, by the way, for any country. Even my homeland, New Zealand, one of the most remote Western societies in the world, has proven that you cannot eliminate COVID-19. Look, it was a very obvious ploy by Sturgeon. We know this, to try and introduce border control, those were her words, through the back door between Scotland and England. As a result of all this madness over the weekend, more and more folk are accepting the fact that we must learn to live with this virus. But that's not where our leaders are taking things. Spain has imposed a state of emergency and 11 p.m. curfew that will last until May. Back here, there's now talk of a Tier 4 being introduced to the highest risk regions that could even force kids out of school once again. The time has come to resist these politically motivated, highly damaging measures. But what do you think? Are the Scottish and Welsh governments using lockdowns for political gain? Have you felt horrified, if you're in Wales, to discover that you can no longer buy books in a supermarket or sanitary pads in a supermarket as a result of these regulations by Drakeford? Or if you're in Scotland, do you find it offensive that Sturgeon is using a pandemic to further the cause of independence? And I'm sorry, that is the only thing she can possibly be doing, because to suggest for even a single second that border patrols between Scotland and England is the way to eliminate COVID in her nation is delusion of the highest order. And Nicola Sturgeon isn't a deluded woman. She knows exactly what she's doing, but she is using COVID to further the independence cause.